I'm Alex. I left the UK 10 years ago, and no, I don't miss it, and I haven't missed it once. I grew up in South Wales, surrounded by working class people through the 90s and early 2000s in the valleys. There was a lot of economic deprivation, lack of opportunity, and people in the area, I think, were, a lot of people were struggling, especially after the mines shut down. I didn't buy into the usual script life seemed to be pushing me towards. Work a job you hate for a boss you can't stand, marry someone, live in a house you can't afford, buy a car on credit, keep your head down until you die, just keep working and working and grinding away. I knew growing up very quickly I didn't want to be stuck in South Wales all my life, and often joked to my parent and the people around me about just grabbing a bag and going for a walk and never coming back. Um, but unfortunately, I became very ill, physically and mentally, during my last 2 years of school, and it kept me in the area a lot longer than I wanted. But eventually, I managed to leave it all behind. And now I'm living in China, currently in my apartment in Shanghai, and I'm focused on becoming the best version of myself, physically, mentally, and financially. And I live with hope and peace of mind. And upon reflection, I don't think I'd have a sense of hope or a peace of mind if I was still living in the UK. I left the UK for the first time when I studied abroad in Leipzig, Germany, in my second year of university, and it opened my eyes. Before that experience, I never imagined living outside the UK. I thought my identity was very British, um, but I realized the world was much bigger than the valleys, than Cardiff, where I was studying, and just the UK in general. And so are the possibilities outside the UK. After finishing my English degree, I Googled how to work abroad with an English degree and discovered opportunities to teach English abroad. And that one afternoon, uh, searching on Google altered the trajectory of my life. Since that Google search, I've taught in countries such as Thailand, Japan, China, Vietnam, and Brazil. And it also propelled me to live in other countries like Colombia and Poland. And yeah, propelled me to travel to over 35 countries currently and make some amazing memories in Europe and South America and Asia in particular. And each place I went to taught me something different about myself, about life. And every step I took around the world took me further from the version of myself in South Wales, where I felt really, really trapped and uh, a bit hopeless in some sense. There's this default setting in the UK that says, work you 40 hours a week, marry someone at the right time, get a house, watch the usual programs, and just for me, it felt like quietly rotting. I never believed in that. I questioned it from a very young age. I never wanted to be another guy in a semi-detached house, just in a quiet village, uh, living a very ordinary life, I guess. I've seen the world and what's possible when you step off the path life is initially suggesting for you and you choose your own. But there are some warnings to this. What nobody tells you when you travel is that travel shouldn't be the end goal. You should never think, okay, now I'm traveling, I've made it. You're the same person internally in South America or Southeast Asia as you were when you left, and your old habits that established themselves growing up in the UK, they catch up with you. In hindsight, for a long time, I was had a lot of self-destructive habits, somewhat apathetic, dealt with depression and pessimism. I wasn't very fit. Uh, I lacked any financial education. I was mostly drunk when traveling in my first few years and blaming the world on issues on people I never met. And these, I reached a point in my late 20s where I realized these feelings that could stem back to my upbringing and the effect of growing up in one of the most deprived areas of the UK. They led to cycles that were repeating themselves in my life. But living abroad, you're forced to rely upon yourself, and it pushes you out of your comfort zone. And after many years of realizing my destructive habits were repeating similar outcomes, I realized, I can't change the world, but I can change myself. So I started reading again. I started lifting, started teaching myself about money, building good habits, and I found a career that I really enjoy that serves me quite well in teaching. Over the last 10 years, my politics shifted too, from constantly thinking about trying to fix the system after listening to too much Manister preachers and Smiths growing up, to fixing myself. And yeah, as I got older, I started to feel a sense of agency, like I was finally in control of where I was going. And I'm very excited for where the future is heading. If I'd stayed in the UK, I'd probably still be worrying about the cost of eggs, with my trajectory that I was on course for in the UK. Growing up, I never saw anyone succeed around me from my background in the valleys. I knew of no lawyers or doctors in my immediate area. I never saw any business people or anyone working in finance. Most people were either working in factories, in retail, in customer service, or unemployed. I had no financial education. I went to university assuming I'd become a journalist, probably like political journalist, reading too much George Orwell growing up. But I had the foresight to recognize university felt like quite a massive ripoff. I was very aware of the cost of university and getting value for my money, coming from such a deprived area and university costing so much, even with the student loan. And I became disillusioned with it quite quickly. And exploring journalism further, I realized I would not be able to have the tools I would need to succeed in that area. Journalism in the UK is very much about connections, about your family background, how much money you have to work in unpaid internships. Yeah, of course, helps if you're the usual kind of person they're looking for, if you know what I mean. I quickly realized I didn't have the background or the tools to succeed, despite being ripped off by university, selling me the chance to get there. But what I did do when I chose my university course, I realized in my second year, it gave me the option to study abroad. And I knew immediately when I saw that on the course plan, that was something I really, really wanted to do. So yeah, overall, university was good for me because it gave me that opportunity. But in terms of career aspects, it led to very little. There was no career guidance or paths put forward, no help towards getting a graduate scheme. So I fell into bartending. And yeah, I saw, before this experience, I recognized I was stuck in a loop of complaining, comparing, and coping about the world. But living abroad taught me there's another way to live. You don't necessarily need a lot of money. You don't need to be financially ambitious. There's countries where life is slower, cheaper, and more meaningful. It's granted more difficult to travel now than it was when I started 10 years ago. But I promise you, you don't need to be incredibly rich to make a clean break. I feel hopeful about the future, something I never felt back home. Living abroad hasn't always been easy, but I'm happy with my position in life, and to me, that's priceless. Yeah, I grew up very bitter and angry about the obvious direction the country was going in. I was predicting how difficult life would become for everyone very early on, in my 16, 17, 18, for all generations, not just millennials, but for older people and the following generations, even when David Cameron was first becoming PM. And I feel that way now. Some easy predictions, inequality is going to worsen, leading to a lack of opportunity for young people from deprived areas. I just think the rates of depression, long-term sickness, anxiety, they just continue to increase. We've had 14 years of a government who believe the UK should be like America, a very aggressive form of free market capitalism. And yeah, I'm very concerned about, because the UK is still my home, and I want to be optimistic about its future. I want to see people I care about back home succeed, but I'm very concerned about its future. I think the UK will become a case study of how a nation once thought of as leading the world in so many areas, especially personal liberties and human rights, how it can slowly strangle itself through consistent short-term thinking, mismanagement, corruption, cronyism, apathy. It's generally quite sad. But if you're watching this, if you stumble upon this video thinking about leaving the UK, you can do it. I have some advice. You don't need to have it all figured out immediately. You don't need to be rich. You just need to want something more. Start with one decision. Think about which country you would like to go to. Some easy ones would be Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, China. Well, again, it depends on your career choice. If you're a digital nomad, I think you should definitely be considering countries like Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, even Indonesia. But the countries in Europe too, like Portugal. If you are like me, you didn't really have any skills. Just a bartender. I bartended in a few countries, but it's not going to lead to long-term stability. If you have a British passport, this is one of the best secrets about being from the UK. Your passport is surprisingly strong, and the privilege of the British passport just opens up so many doors and so many opportunities. Yeah, you don't need to have a lot of money for the first 2 years when you travel. You can do what I did and just can start teaching English. Teaching English brought a lot of joy to my life. First, I just used it as an excuse to travel, make enough money to get by, and get drunk and meet lots of cool new people. But teaching has really brought a lot of joy to my life, and I've made a very fulfilling career out of it now. But yeah, think about the country you want to go to, the opportunities, check out the visa rules, think about how you're going to make money online or in the country, and yeah, just work towards it. Start on Duolingo, learn the local language. Just take small steps. You don't need to think, okay, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow and leave immediately. You can do it in 2 or 3 years. Just have a plan, work towards it, save, plan ahead for the years to come, think of where you want to be, and just start making small steps to get there. The Chinese have a saying, the best time to plant a tree was like 1,000 years ago. The next best time is today, this moment. Be brave enough to make the jump. There's more to life than gloomy Britain. And yeah, I wish I could tell 17-year-old me who was very depressed growing up in Wales how life would turn out, because the world is so beautiful and there's so much to see and explore and so many cool people to meet. Yeah, around the world, there's a version of you also waiting to be discovered. One I'm sure you'll be proud of.